Shalom friends, welcome to the Ahavat Yisrael Podcast, live from Old City Radio in the Old City of Jerusalem.
We're going to take that Tilim with missiles that Hamas is sending to us on a daily basis, add the hay, and turn it into healing.
We're going to give our kids to you, and we're going to make raising them about you.
There's an overwhelming feeling of holiness in the Old City that you can't compare to anywhere else.
So there's a famous legend, I don't know actually what the source is, I did look for it, about why the temple was built over there, very close to us. And the story goes like this. There were two brothers, and they were living on either side of the hill. And one of the brothers was very rich, and he had a very big family, and the other brother was alone. He wasn't married. And he was also rich. They both had these farms. But the brother who was on his own felt a bit bad for his brother who had the big family, and he thought, he's got so many mouths to feed, so many people to look after, I'm going to give some stuff to him. But the other brother didn't want to accept anything. So in the middle of the night, the single brother used to go over the mountain and put some of his produce and his grain and whatever it was in the other brother's field. Now the other brother, the brother with the big family and lots of children, he also felt bad for his brother. He says, you know what, I've got a big family, and it's so nice for me. My brother, he doesn't have this family and this love and this warmth around him, so I'm going to give him some of my stuff so that he can make more money, and then he will hopefully get married, or at least he'll have some nice things. So they did this every night for many years, crossing over into each other's field, and then one day they bumped into each other, bam, in between the fields, and they were each carrying this grain, and they realized what was going on. And they hugged each other, and they realized that my brother was living for me. He was giving to me. And that's where Hashem said, you know what? That's where I want the Beit HaMikdash to be. The place of brotherly love. And so this is what our podcast is all about. Ahavat Yisrael. How do we learn to love each other? So we said last time, there are really three levels of Ahavat Yisrael. Level number one is I love someone, Ve'ahavta l'recha kamocha, means I love them kind of because I love myself, really. So I don't love them as much as myself, but just they're a human like me, and they have issues, and they have hopes and dreams, and they have parents who love them, and they're like me. So I'm going to love them, and they're my brothers. I'm going to love them like I love myself, which means I'm going to care about them, and I'm going to want the best for them, and I'm going to pray for them, and I'm going to provide for them, and I'm going to care for them, not as much as for myself, because we learned this idea of chayecha kodmin, that your life comes first. So on this level of your body, you've got to look after yourself first. That's not bad to look after yourself first. But then you also look after other people because they're like you. And this level of Ve'ahavta l'recha kamocha, of Ahavat Yisrael, is on the individual level. I love every single individual Jew, and every individual Jew has to love every other individual Jew, because we're all Jews, we're all people, we've all got stuff that we need to deal with, so we love each other on that level. It's not a Klal Yisrael. I don't love the Jewish people as a whole. I love this guy, and that's on the level of body. Then we said there's a higher level of Ahavat Yisrael, and that's Kamocha Mamish. You actually love them to the same level as you love yourself. And how can we do that? So this is a higher level called the soul. On a body level, we're all individuals, and you're you, and I'm me, and I love me, and therefore, seeing as I love me, I can extend that to you, so I love you as well, because I realize you're just like me, basically. But then there's a higher level called the soul level, where Ve'ahavta l'recha kamocha means you love them as you love yourself. Why? Because on a soul level, then they are part of yourself. And this is the more expanded view of Ahavat Yisrael, loving Jewish people, which means Klal Yisrael as a whole. I just love the Jewish people on a soul level. And how is that possible now, to love someone as much as you love yourself? Because on the fourth level of your soul, we said there's nefesh, ruach, neshama, the enlivening soul and the emotional soul, and then the pure intellectual soul. But each of them are kind of individual. But then there's a higher level called the super soul, which sounds like a makolet, but it's not. It's the one Jewish soul. It's called chaya. And there's a higher level called Yechida. So on the level of Chaya, we're all one. So we love the whole of the Jewish people. Now, of course, we obviously love the individual as well, but we love them because it's rooted in the fact that they're part of Klal Yisrael. They're part of us, so I love you as part of the whole. It actually says that when a non-Jew converts and becomes a Jew, then they're taken under the wings, under the shade of the Shekhinah. They become part of this shade of the Shekhinah, and our sages teach us that what really is the Shekhinah? The Shekhinah is the collective Jewish people. It's the collective soul of the Jewish people. And it's up to us, therefore, when most people think about the Shekhinah, they say it's God's presence in this world, an emanation and manifestation of God's presence in this world, and that's the role of the Jewish people. That's what we're meant to actually be doing. We often say this idea that we're a chelek Elokah, mimal, mamash, we're a piece of godliness. So what piece of godliness are we? We're the piece of godliness expressed in the world. By the way, that means we've got a very, very important job to do. We have to express godliness in the world, because if we don't, it says the Shekhinah is in galus. The Shekhinah has kind of left. Why is that? It's because we've left. If we're not doing our job, and we're not loving everyone, and we're not working together as a Jewish people, and we're not bringing God consciousness into the world, then the Shekhinah isn't here. So we've got to bring the Shekhinah back. And how do you bring the Shekhinah back? By reconnecting to part of that self, part of you, that higher part of yourself, and reconnecting to every Jewish person. And this is your higher level. And in this place, the Gemara, actually, the same Gemara where it says Chayecha Kodmin, that your life comes first, it says that it's talking about your body. But when it comes to your spiritual life, there's a whole debate. Does your spiritual life come above someone else's spiritual life? And over there it's much more complicated, because you can't weigh them up one for one. We just don't know. And in fact, often giving up your own spirituality for someone else is a very, very high level. Giving up your body, like all our soldiers, God forbid, not all our soldiers, like many of our soldiers have done, but all of our soldiers are risking to do, is a very, very high level. And there's another level called I'm giving up my spirituality. So even myself on a small level, I'm teaching a lot and I'm doing a lot of stuff where I'm giving and I'm teaching. And in a way that's taking away from my own personal time to learn Torah. So in a way my spirituality is being affected by me giving to other people. But the Torah says that's a high level, because it's not really all about you. And I train I train men to get married. And one of the things I say to them is, sometimes you have to let go of your spirituality for your wife, if your wife needs you. So if you go to the mikveh before Friday night, you always go to the mikveh on Friday. But for some reason, there's not so much time and you have to wash the floor and the kids are crying and the guests are coming and your wife needs help. Don't go to the mikveh at that point. Give up your own spirituality for your wife's peace of mind, and you tell your wife to go and get dressed, and you wash the floor, and you take care of the kids. And Hashem appreciates that a lot more when you put other people's spirituality above your own. So that's the second level. The body level, individuals, soul level, Am Yisrael as a whole, and of course we love the individuals. So what could possibly be higher than that? The level of beyond the soul. And it really means the fifth level of the soul, the Yechida, which is Ein Od Milvadai, there is only Hashem. So yesterday we said the highest level is to love someone more than yourself, to be willing to completely give up your life and nullify yourself, mevatel yourself completely for the greater good, for God. And how do we get this? So my Rebbe, Bilvavi, he says really the word Ahava has the word Av in it, which means father. And it has the word have in it, which means to give. So there's a level where there's a love, a godly love, a divine love, the love of a father. So we say, Banim atem l'Hashem Elokeichem. Hashem is our father. Avinu Malkeinu. Hashem is our father. Hashem is our king. And it means that your whole existence is completely dependent on the father. And the mother, of course, is completely dependent on your parents. Without your parents, you Pasha just would not exist at all. And then have giving. How much your parents have invested in you and given to you. So you actually don't have any separate individual reality. It just doesn't exist. It's all based on the Father. Ein Od Milvado, there's only Hashem. And therefore, once we realize that our Father loves us and our Father's giving to us and we love Hashem, we have this divine love, you love the Father, then you love all of His children equally. So then it's not about you. There's no real individual anymore. Even on the second level, by the way. The second level, where I say we've got this collective soul, and I see that your soul and my soul are connected on a higher level, there's still a sense of saying, I see you as part of myself. So it's still a form of self-love. It's a form of self-love because I love you because you're part of me. I think we said last time, not sure, but either way, I love my wife and my children more than I love other people. Why? Because I see them as intrinsically part of myself. They're part of who I am. Torah says, Ishto kagufo, your wife is like yourself. And then it says, Banim gufo, your children really are yourself. So my children's pain is really painful to me. It's very painful when I see my children's pain. Because I see them as part of myself. Their pain is my pain. My very, very, very close friends, their pain is also part of my pain. Why? Because I also see them as part of myself, but not quite as much as my children. And then my good friends, also their pain, but as it gets further away, and there's the acquaintances, and people I just see a little bit, and then people I just have heard of, and then people I even don't like. The further someone is from my sense of self, what I say I identify with them as part of myself, the further away their pain. I don't feel their pain as much. And, by the way, I don't feel their joy as much. My children's and wife's and mothers and sisters' joy is much more enjoyable to me than other people's joy. Why? Because they are intrinsically part of myself. So there's a higher level where I see that all of Am Yisrael is part of myself. So Am Yisrael's pain is my pain. And this war, unfortunately, has really brought us to this stage. I remember, if I be honest, some things happened, tragedies to the Jewish people, and I always felt a bit detached. I was like, that's really sad, but I didn't really participate in the pain of other people because I was like, okay, sad things happen. But this is so intense and so personal and just an attack on the whole people. I've really been feeling the pain, and that's actually a good thing. As we said before, that the Rambam says, if you don't feel the pain of the Jewish people, then you don't get a place in the world to come, because you're basically taking yourself out of the klal. You're taking yourself out of the Jewish people. So it's a higher level where I see other people as part of myself, so I love them, and I'm going to expand my definition of self to beyond my family and beyond my friends and to every single Jewish person. But there's still a little bit of self there. I love them because I see them as myself. So we're saying this third level is a higher level where there's no self. There's Einon Milvado. It's just Hashem. There's just the Father. There's all a just much, much, much bigger picture going on. And from that place, I can give up myself for the bigger picture. I mevatel myself. There's no me anymore. And that's a very, very high level. My Rebbe says, by the way, we can only really, truly reach that level when Mashiach comes. Be'ezrat Hashem, it should be very soon. But that's what we're aiming for. That's what we're trying to achieve. And as I said before, this is why I'm doing this podcast now, because we got to keep it together. We just got to keep it together. We've been smacked all of 2,000 years. Every time the Jewish people start splitting up and judging each other and putting each other down, we get a bit of a patch. Hashem's giving us a smack, and we saw it happen to us again. And I just want to do everything I can to make sure that we don't fall into that trap again, and we really learn from our lesson, our mistakes this time, and that we can really, truly just love everyone. They don't have to believe what I believe. They don't have to value what I value. But if we can just at least value each other as Jewish people, it says, Hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Behold how sweet and beautiful it is when the Jewish people are sitting together, and we know that beyachad is together. Beyachad. Hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim beyachad. When we're sitting together, but it says gam yachad. What does gam yachad mean? It means that sometimes we can be sitting together, but we're not really together. So gam yachad means also together. We're not only sitting together physically and, we're Jewish and we identify as Jewish, but we're also together. We have a common goal, a common cause, a common love. We're a common family, even though some parts of us, we have different beliefs. Be'ezras Hashem, we should be zeicher to reach this level of Hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Good Shabbos.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Old City Radio. Hope to see you again very soon.
Remember, this isn't just information. There's tools and practical wisdom to completely transform your life.